Tune in today. We are live. Hello. How is everybody doing today? I am so excited today to introduce to you this amazing woman. But before I do, I just want to set the stage, kind of chat. First of all, I want to do a couple of different things. I haven't gotten 100% really great at this, Maddie, in terms of making sure everything works, that people can hear us and we're live. We are definitely live. I just want to say, let me turn this down so that we don't interfere that way. My internet was really acting earlier, and I just trusted the universe that, hey, it's gonna, it's gonna do what it's gonna do, and we're gonna do what we're gonna do. I just want to say, if you're out there right now and you can hear us, please just let us know you're there. This is gonna be one of the most amazing interviews. And I think I've cataloged a little over 250, 300, somewhere in there. I've lost count. But this is going to be an amazing interview, and you guys are truly going to be blessed. I want to first start off and say, how are you doing? How are you doing out there? How is life treating you this week? Are you making it happen for yourself, or are you waiting for somebody to make it happen for you? If you are, I want to tell you right now, nobody's coming to get you. I'm sorry, but you know what? You have the power to create anything that you want. So if you need something, if you need some help, call somebody. There are helplines there. If you don't have no friends, tag me. Cheryl, I just need to talk for a minute. Call somebody. If you're waiting to go back to school, nobody's going to come get you to help you to go back. Start looking into schools. If you want to write a book, start writing a book. Whatever it is that you want to do, all I'm saying to you is start doing it. Our lifespan is very short. And if you don't take advantage of the things that are offered to you, then you are missing out on your life. Live your best life. I'm going to tell you you're worth it. I'm going to tell you you're beautiful. I'm going to tell you you're amazing, because you are. I'm not making it up. I'm not blowing smoke up your behind. I'm telling you what I know to be true. I want to welcome this guest, but before we start, and I really do want to dive in with this queen. If you don't know who Maddie is, you are going to be in for a treat. You are going to be in for such a treat. But I want to start off and say that I started this platform, as most of you know, as a way to give a voice to Black women and women of color. I support all women. I don't have any biases anyway in that regard, but I did it specifically for Black women and women of color is because I wanted them to have a voice, and I wanted the world to see when they say they can't find good talent and they say they don't know where these amazing people are. And I want to tell you, call me, because I know them and they're out there. I'm a firm believer that the only way that we are going to grow beyond where we are right now is to start telling our truths. And Maddie's going to do that today. Maddie's going to tell you some truths. So I want to just share a little bit about this platform. As you know, my name is Cheryl Grant, and I want to say welcome to Fit Live. We are here to highlight the real journeys and the triumphs of individuals, professionals, and entrepreneurs from around the globe. Getting fit is more than a physical process. It's a roadmap for getting into mental shape, developing faith, intuition, and tenacity necessary to propel you forward for your own success, not only in business, but in life. So the question beckons, are you ready to get fit? Fit stands for faith, intuition, and tenacity. Faith, to believe in the unseen. Just because you don't see it with your physical eye, see it with your mental eye. If you can see it and then internally believe it and then take the actions, you can achieve it. And that's what my platform is about. It's about getting people mentally fit. This is a mental construct. I have programs designed all around this. And that's what we're here today. Today, we're all about storytelling. And I bring these amazing guests on to hopefully give you some seeds of inspiration so that you know you too can do it. So without further ado, let me introduce you to this amazing young woman. And it's a brief bio because Maddie was going to send me her full bio, but I didn't get it. So I'm going to give you a brief bio of Maddie. Don't worry, we're going to get into dialogue. So you're going to get to know this amazing lady. Madison Butler is a New Englander at heart, but moved to Austin in 2017. Her work is focused on creating equitable spaces and creating scalable strategies to achieve psychological safety. She is an outspoken advocate for mental health. She is why did this word just Cheryl, really? D, what is the word? It's dejamit. I can't even say the word, Maddie. I'm lost for words. I really am. But helping with trauma, DEI, and the ability to be human at work, which is the most important thing. She is passionate about facilitating hard conversations through storytelling, data, and tough empathy. And without further ado, and thank you for that mix up, Maddie, welcome to Fit Life.
Hi, I'm sorry, I forgot to send you my bio. I have ADHD, and so I literally told my partner last night because they're like, oh, you never respond to my text, and it's because I get a text, and then I start texting back, and I'm like, oh my god, I gotta do that thing, and I start doing that thing, and as I start doing that thing, I'm like, oh my god, I gotta do that thing, and I just like live in this cycle of, oh my god, I forgot to do that thing. So I apologize. I definitely actually thought about it and then didn't do it.
One of the things I'm going to be and hello everyone. Hello, Verna, Brooke. So good to see you. Hello, Ivana Andrews. Hello, everyone here from LinkedIn. Huge fan like me of Maddie. Me too. So Maddie, don't worry. We all live in that world, but I'm so excited to have you here. You guys don't understand how big of a treat this is for us to be interviewing this young transformationist that is really truly taking to me corporate by storm. And Maddie, the first question I just want to ask you is, Maddie, what are you passionate about?
So I guess for me, when I think about what I want out of all of everything I do, I understand that when I walked into corporate America, I was fully aware that it was not a space that was ever designed for me. You know, I often say that corporate America works and it's by design. It's not meant to work for me or you or anyone who comes from a marginalized identity. At the end of the day, it's meant to work for white men, straight white men at that. And so for me, the thing that I'm passionate about,
honest, so she gonna give it to you. Come on, Maddie.
Yes,
on, girl.
You know, for me, the thing that I'm passionate about is creating this space where I don't have to think about that. And the people who come after me never have to question, was this room made for me? I want them to go into every room knowing that I belong here and now I get to decide, does this room deserve me? And for a long time, we haven't been able to do that. We've had to accept less than in order to get a paycheck, in order to be valued, in order to be listened to. And essentially, I just feel like I'm here to blow it up.
Well, you are, and you're doing that. But Maddie, I'd like to understand, like, how did you get here? Do you mind? I don't want to say your age, but you're young. Maddie, you can be my daughter. And Maddie, you have this fearless way about you in speaking your truth. I've read your blogs. I've read things that you post about, like even today. Like, how did you get here? How did you find your voice?
So I think the way a lot of people get here, something like trauma and age. And so when I think back to younger me was not like this at all. Younger me really leaned into whiteness, and because we thought we had to. I think there was a point that we all saw everyone successful on TV and we were like, oh, they're white. How do I do that? How do I get there? And, you know, I ended up dating someone in college that I think we all have this moment where we date someone who's not great for us. But my moment of dating someone that wasn't great for me ended up being a 3-year wildly abusive relationship, but he was also like a hardcore racist, which like ironically people are always like, you can't be racist, he dated you. And I'm like, that's not actually how that works. And I came out of it like unaware. Like I still came out being like, I don't know what happened there. And then fast forward, our breakup made BuzzFeed and it was all over the news and all over the internet. And for the first time in my life, I was reading, which you should never do. You should never read the comments. I was reading all of the comments. And every person that had a crappy comment was basing it on the fact that I was Black. And I had this like universal moment of like, oh my God, I'm Black. And so I actually have a blog post called Showing Up Black at 25. And I often talk about, I felt like it was actually easier for me to come out as queer than it was for me to come out as Black. And I feel like I came out Black at 25. And that I was like, oh my God, I'm going to not do that again. And if the world sees me as Black, then damn, I better own it and show up. And so I spent a lot of time decolonizing myself and unpacking my crap and having a lot of hard conversations with myself in the mirror of I'm expected to be one kind of way because we're taught there's a right way to be Black. And I'm just going to be the right way for me. Who I need to be is how I'm going to show up. And that's how I started showing up in the world. It took me a couple more years to like actually bring that to work with me. But then I realized how exhausting is it to be two people every day. If I'm this like badass outside of work, but then at work I'm like, oh, hello, here's my phone voice and my J. Crew outfit. Um, how good can I be at my job if I spend all of my time also being like an actress?
Wow. So what you did is take the imposter syndrome and you're blowing it up and you're just deciding to be you, your most authentic self, which is a very brave thing to do because not a lot of us feel that we have permission to do. I came from a different generation. We were just talking about that. I'm like way older than you. And the fact is, I've been transitioned to act a certain way, say certain words. And when I listen to you, you don't hold back. And I think that one of the things you talk about often is being human at work. And right now, like you girl, you got me going, but what does being human at work, and you can expand on it because that's truly what you're being is who you are, not who the world decides for you to be, who says you have to be. And I got so many questions, but you can start there. I got a lot going through my head right now. I do.
So
boyfriend, like, was he Black?
No, he was like in the video. So basically what happened was it was a video of him that went viral and he was just like, I mean, it was like N bomb, Trump is going to send you back to Africa, N bomb. And in the video, you can tell like I'm a completely like meek version of myself because in the background, you just hear me say, you know, you look like a racist, right? And even now, like listening to it, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe that was me. But I've also learned so much about domestic violence and the way that you view yourself is completely different when you're stuck in that cycle. And so when I think about being human at work, that's also part of it. When I think about authenticity, which has become such a buzzword, I'm not talking about the fact that I have blue hair or a ton of tattoos or that I occasionally swear. When I talk about authenticity, what I'm actually talking about is the fact that the human experience is incredibly messy and it doesn't get less messy. And I was like actually under the impression that like more money and age would make it less messy, and it doesn't. It is still messy. And being able to be human at work is acknowledging those things and being able to say like, hey, I'm not my best today. And the interesting thing about COVID, it was the first point of inflection where like the whole world was experiencing one thing at one time. And of course, there are levels of privilege in the way that we experience COVID, but it was the only time that everyone was experiencing the same thing. And we weren't just working remote, we were working through a global pandemic, worried about like, am I going to get sick if I touch my groceries? And oh my God, my Instacart driver like coughed on my groceries. What do I do now? And then when you take it one step further with George Floyd, that was the first time that I really realized I needed to be able to say, hey, I'm not my best today. I need to take a step away. I need to take a break because emotionally I can't do this right now. And that's one of the things when I talk about psychological safety is being able to acknowledge those things, because it's not always just a global pandemic or a trauma that we witness on TV. Sometimes it's your parent is dying. You have a sick child. You're going through a really messy divorce. And as much as we pretend that those things don't impact us from 8 to 5, that's a lie. I don't take off my human sweater at the door every day and say, all right, well, I'm going to come back to this 8 to 5. I'm going to not think about it. That's not reality. That's not how it works. And as managers and as leaders and as people who build companies, we're better for it when we can understand why people perform the way they perform, instead of just saying, oh, well, you can't step away, or you can't take PTO, or you can't bring your kid to their doctor's appointment. That's not reality. The world does not actually center around corporate America, even though we've pretended it has for so long.
Well, it's time to disrupt that. And I'm so glad for people like you, Maddie, because you truly do even give me permission to shine. You give me permission to be myself and not pretend to be somebody else. When I listen to you, I get more bolder even in my speaking because I'm still, remember, I'm programmed. There's programming. There's over 30 plus years of programming and how I show up and not wanting to offend anybody. So you're constantly walking on eggs. And for you and every other person that's listening right now, she's really giving us a card. She's giving us a pass. There's a movie called Hall Pass. I don't know if you ever saw it. Anyway, never mind. To really truly show up in this world as your most authentic self and truly be yourself. And it's in that you can truly outperform and really deliver at the level that you were designed to, and giving yourself permission and not compartmentalizing things so that you can't come up whole. And I'm not saying that we should come to work. I mean, if we feel like not wearing no clothes, you should just come up to work. I mean, there are parameters in how we operate in life, but I do think that being human should be at the top priority for us, and especially going through this pandemic. So you're with this guy. How do you mind me asking how long you were with him? I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to go down there, but the fact that he places and you were with him and you had to go through this epiphany, I really want to know. I really want to know.
So we were together about 3 years. And like when I look back, the whole like, and it's funny because that red flag like thing is going on Facebook right now. My whole timeline is like, oh, what's a red flag? His whole personality was a red flag. And I was just like, oh, this is good. But because I craved whiteness. I think it was because I craved the acceptance from whiteness so much. And in my brain, he was 10 years older than me. He was successful, which like looking back, like not really. I craved his acceptance and he made it a game for me in the beginning, which is I think what hooked me. I'm super competitive. And he just turned it into a game. And by the time I realized I was stuck in a game, he had trapped me in a relationship. And by the time I realized I was trapped in a relationship, he had control of all of my money. And when someone has control of all of your money, it makes it really hard to make an exit. And I look back and I had so many moments of wanting to leave and times that I tried to leave and times that I actually did leave. And it always ended up putting me and my dogs and my life at risk. And so I always went back. And honestly, like leaving is it was a really wild experience because I think everyone who is in a domestic violence relationship that ends up getting out is like, there is this light bulb moment. I remember I was standing in my bathroom brushing my teeth and I was on the phone with my best friend and I had locked him out of our apartment and I heard him coming in through the window. And it was the first time that I had this like light bulb moment that if you don't get your shit together and get yourself out of Texas, because we lived in Houston at the time, you're not going to have the opportunity and you need to figure it out. And so I remember I like flew home for a long weekend to visit my parents and I want to move home. And she was like, okay, like in a couple months. And I was like, no. I was like thinking next weekend. And she was like, okay. And I went back to Texas. I pretended everything was good because that's what you have to do. And it's interesting because I thought I was doing a pretty good job, but looking back, I used to write notes a lot. I was an English major. I write a lot. And he saved every note I ever wrote for the course of 3 years, which looking back, I was like, oh, that was, in the moment I thought that was sweet, but looking back, it was weird. He started leaving my old notes like around the house and I ended up waiting until he was out, luckily for me, cheating, and rented a car and put my dogs in a car and drove home in the middle of the night with nothing that I owned except clothes and my dogs, which was really the most important thing to me was my dogs. My mom flew in one of my friends and I picked her up at the airport and we just kept driving.
Wow. Oh my God. One of the amazing things right now for me is just an epiphany for anybody that's out there listening that's going through something and that feels trapped and that there's no way out. I want you to know that there is a way out. There's always a way out. And Madison is here to tell her story, you guys, but I don't know if you're feeling it, but energetically I'm feeling it. I'm, Madison, I've been happy ever since day one. You said yes. And then just listening to your story just makes me say, wow, just wow. Just wow. And hats off to you. So this journey with him led you to having an epiphany about you, the human being, and how you were operating in the world.
100%. I mean, it was just, I came out like, oh God. And I mean, when I tell you, I left and never looked back. We have never spoken to each other. The only time we have ever seen each other again is in court, and we are still in court. And it's been like 6 years. We're still in court. Thanks, Texas. And I never looked back. And just wanting to be honest with myself and truthful with myself and showing up in a way that I wasn't, because he had me showing up in a way that like is the antithesis of who I am. So the thing about me is I don't want kids. I don't even like kids. And he had me up at like 5 a.m. making lunches and packing kids snacks and ironing his underwear. I like kid you not. I like still don't own an iron out of like spite. And it was just like, he had me cooking dinner every night. And I'm just like not a housewife. Like that is not me. That is not my persona. And that's never been my persona. And so the fact that he had me in this role that just, I wasn't. One of the things I talk about like is this iconic fight we had. And I had made like chicken lettuce wraps, which like, if you know what chicken lettuce wraps are, it's like ground chicken and lettuce and you like make a taco out of it. And he came home and he was like, how dare you make me assemble my own dinner? And I remember, I like look back now and I'm like, what? Like, that is just so wild to me. To like, and then I remember he left. He was like, I'm going out to buy socks, and didn't come home for like 24 hours, which was like very on par with him. And at the time, like I held a lot of hatred because he was cheating all the time, and he was cheating on like Craigslist, and he was cheating with women, men, and like he didn't really care. And I'm queer, so like I don't care about that. But in the moment, I was like, I remember asking like, hey, like what's going on? We are in at this time a monogamous relationship. And I could never get him to give me an answer on like why. And it took me a really long time to unpack that, because that made me feel so insecure about myself for the longest time. If you know me, I'm like a fairly fit girl. I've always looked that way. I played college soccer. I played rugby. So like I have big legs. And when we were together, I literally dropped like 100 pounds just from stress. It was like one day I woke up 100 pounds lighter, and like, I don't remember it happening. I didn't work out because he didn't let me. I didn't really eat well. I ate like Annie's pretzels all the time. But like somehow I went from like being a normal size to being like almost a 00, and I looked like a bobblehead, which isn't a great look for anyone.
No, it's not. But you know what is amazing, Madison, about you is whoever she was, I really am saddened in my heart that anybody has to endure anything like that. I can't even begin to imagine what that's like. Even in hearing your words, it's so abrasive that I can't even mentally put my head around it. But I know that there are people out there that are in relationships. And really, really, what's really interesting is that, you know, when you talk about abuse, whether corporate structure wants to look at it this way or not, there is some of that abuse that is happening in the corporate structure, but they don't call it that.
Yep.
And with this systemic racism, and for those who say that it doesn't exist, not really, you know, I don't know your boyfriend, I don't know, or ex-boyfriend, or whoever he was, but that personality type, you know, that dominating, thinking that there's only one right way of being. And what I love most about you is you've taken a situation that was meant for your detriment, and you turned it around, and now you're using that energy to not only empower yourself, but you're empowering others. Girlfriend, I don't know many people that's your age that on LinkedIn, I'm not talking about Instagram, I'm not talking about Facebook, I'm not talking about any of those old other social mediums, that has 80, 90,000 followers on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, that speaks a lot about you. And what I see, and when I read your story, is truly your power. What I hear is your voice. When I asked you what was the appropriate things, because I know there's help me out,
LGBTQ.
I was gonna get it out. I said, how do I approach? And you said queer. And I really appreciated you feeling confident enough in yourself to share your story and to be okay with who you are. And quite frankly, as far as the hell with the world and what it thinks, I need people to feel empowered no matter where you are. If you're Black, if you're white, if you're Asian, if you're Hispanic, and you got a dream, go get it. And nobody should be in your way of you achieving your dream. And you're doing that. Now, Madison, I'm going to switch gears just for a minute. Natty. And by the way, you guys, I want you to know that she goes by the handle of the Blue Unicorn. She truly is a unicorn. I promise you she is. Amazing one at that. And I just love and adore. I know you have a mama, but I'm just going to adopt you as my second. I'm just going to adopt you. But one of the things she's also doing is she's in the cannabis industry, which I just love. So I want to switch just a little bit and talk to you about that. So how did you end up in the cannabis industry?
Honestly, kind of by accident. I had told someone I knew in my network earlier this year that I was like, hey, confidentially, I'm looking, not in a rush, just exploring my options, maybe thinking about taking a step away from tech. And to kind of go back to your point, the thing that I've realized the most, and we can come back to this, is after being in a narcissistic abusive relationship, I can feel that so heavily in so many of the structures that exist in corporate America. So much of the abuse I faced was actually not physical, although there was that, but the emotional and the like verbal side of it 100% is mirrored in corporate America. And at the end of the day, like work trauma is very much just trauma, and your body reacts to trauma the same way, whether it's from a partner or a family member or your boss. Your body just puts itself into fight or flight mode. And so I was ready to kind of take a step away from potentially tech and see what else was out there. And this person I knew was like, hey, I actually know someone who really would love to meet you. They don't really have a role open right now, but maybe you can just meet and see if something will open up at some point. And I was introduced to my current boss, and we just really aligned on a lot of the things that we wanted to achieve. And so for me, it was really about being able to bring this to two halves of me. I am a people practitioner. It is what I love. It is what I do, but I'm also an activist. And typically you have to kind of keep those things separate at work. Like it's really exciting for a company to be like, ooh, this makes us look good because you do this, but we don't really want to do it. We don't want to do it with you. Like maybe do it for us, maybe do it in our name, but we don't actually want to do it. And I was looking for a company that really wanted to do the work. And where better to do the work than in this industry? Tech missed the boat on being able to close the wealth gap because they chose to be irresponsible. They chose to not put voices of everyone at the table. They chose to go the easy way, which is like, let's make our houses bigger. Let's pad our bank accounts.
Yes.
And cannabis still has the opportunity to bring different perspectives to the table before that big boom happens. And so cannabis has the ability to help close the wealth gap. And also, there's privilege in being in this industry and knowing how this industry has hurt people who look just like me. And I feel like I have a responsibility to, one, take the stigma away from this industry as much as I possibly can, because we deserve to be here too, because this industry was literally built on the backs of black and brown people.
Yes. And those individuals are the very ones that are being excluded from this industry. And that's just amazing to me. So now you're in this space and you have an opportunity to help bridge that gap. You work for an amazing company and you're doing amazing things. I'd like to understand, you've already shared with me, because my platform is all about being fit. So fit is faith, the ability to believe in the unseen, your intuition, trusting yourself, and tenacity, the will to get into action and do something. And you just exercise that. And that one story you told about your ex-boy, you exercise all that, and you're continuing to build upon it in your voice on LinkedIn. And one of the things I'd like to talk to you, and by the way, audience, I want to thank everybody for joining in. This is an amazing, much needed, overdue dialogue. I want to ask you to please, this is not meant to be a monologue. It's meant to be a dialogue. So if you have questions of Maddie, ask her. Ask Maddie. This is your opportunity to really, really chime in. But Maddie, going back to my question to you about these spaces, you being so vocal, now, having gone this journey, coming out on the other side, now speaking your truth, truly finding your voice. You have an agent, you speak around the country, you're doing all these amazing things. My question, I want to use my train of thought because I'm so enthralled by you. I mean, I got you on a pedestal, girl. I'm sorry. And I'm going to keep you there. I'm really but you're doing all these amazing things. You have people coming after you. I mean, there are people that don't want to hear what Maddie has to say. There are people that would much prefer that they take the traditional route, of my generation and not really say anything, be politically correct, kind of, ease the, and you, it's not that I've never experienced you, Maddie, saying anything that I thought was vile. I think you just speak your truth, and some people have a very hard time with it because it's your truth and they don't understand. It doesn't make it not your truth. How do you do
I mean, the world literally hates carefree Black women. Look how they treat Meg the Stallion. Look how they treat Lizzo. Look at Chloe Bailey. The world wants, that's my mom. Hi, Mom.
I love Maddie. And thank you for sharing. I just asked her to be my daughter. I promise I'll only keep her for a little bit. I promise. Thank you, Jenna.
The world hates carefree Black women. They want us to live in this box of politeness and nicety and straight hair. And God forbid we love our bodies and we talk about our sexuality and we just don't give a damn. The world hates that. And I think I very much fall into that box without like being nearly as cool as Lizzo and Meg the Stallion, because I just don't care. Like, you don't have to like me. I tell everyone all the time, like, I'm not for everyone, and that's intentional. I don't want to be for everyone. I don't want racists to like think I'm the next Candace Owens. Like, I don't want them to like me. And so for me, that I think is so much of it is because I never go looking for a fight. I never go to other people's pages. I write my own content and then I leave. And then people come and they have to speak their mind. And, you know, part of me is excited that people feel like they should out themselves as racists, because the way we eradicate it is by making them public, making it known that they exist. Because for so long, they have integrated our workspaces quietly. It hasn't been an outright racist act at the water cooler, but it's been in the way they handle your performance review, in the way they promote you, in the way that they give you raises, in the way they hire you. And so when people come and they just blurt their racism or homophobia or transphobia all over my page, it's really easy to know who not to work with, who not to hire, who not to have conversations with or involve in my network. And so part of me is grateful for the audacity that they bring to my page.
Oh my God. And when they do, Maddie, what's your response? Like, how do you, and first of all, I love the fact I know that my audience, you can get mad as much as I tell you I love this girl, but I do. I love her audacity to be bold. I love her audacity to be her most amazing self. She is me. She is me. Ubuntu. You are me. I am you because I am because of you. So I thank you. But how the fact that I don't know, you said something earlier. You said, I don't care what people think about me. Do you know what a gift that is to not care? I wish I did it. I wish I had that gift. I wish I had that gift. I would work on it. But I do care because I come from a different school of thought and I've been conditioned that way. So I just absolutely love it. That's Chef Mimi. She's amazing. Mimi, are you not loving this dialogue? Is this not amazing? So when people come, when they come for you, said you don't, how do you, like you said, you know who not to work with, but it never doesn't, you don't, like, it never bothers you.
So the thing is, I think part of it is because I lived with literally the worst human on the planet. I have a hard time being offended by people on the internet, because I like lived with these people in real life. And so now I know. And I'm also an empathetic person, and I get it. Like, in order to like come be a racist or whatever to a complete stranger on the internet, you've got your own stuff going on. Hurt people. I was that person. I lived in that land for a long time, and so I get that. But I also have the responsibility to protect my own peace, because that is the only person who can do that. I am the only person who completely controls my boundaries and controls what I allow to impact me. And so honestly, like, when I respond, very rarely do I find someone that's a hardcore racist or whatever that's looking for education. So I am typically fairly snarky, and I do tag employers. Like, if you want to get bold on my page, I can get bold because you had choices, but I also have choices. And I use them well.
Okay, world, this is a new wake-up call. And if you don't have it, I'm telling you, you are gifting me with something. Well, and one of the things I did with this platform was to create a space that didn't exist. Maddie, to showcase people like you that are in the world doing great things, because I didn't want to hear one more time that we don't know where they are, or, there's so many amazing Black women of color. There are women all over the world that are doing amazing things, and I need the world to know they exist. They're powerful, they're amazing, and we are rewriting the narrative for our lives. We are no longer accepting the crumbs that you want to leave behind. We don't need necessarily, for my thing, we've always been asked we want a seat at the table. No, bring your own damn chair. Matter of fact, and create your own damn table if they want. That's what I did. I created my own platform so that I could do that. And the feedback that I'm getting is overwhelming. And you're doing that, Maddie. You are doing that in your own lane, and you are just amazing. I want to know your relationship with your mom. Come on, Donna. She
So
told you she was queer. What was your response?
my mom really, she was easy. I just came home with a woman, and I think my mom's actually still Facebook friends with her, and I'm not even Facebook friends with her. I kind of lucked out. You know, I'm an only child, and my mom has always raised me to just exist as I want to exist. And I fought really hard against it because I was leaning so hard into whiteness, and my mom and my dad were both like, oh my God, you're Black. Please see that you're Black. Because if you get pulled over, that mouth is going to get you in trouble. Please understand you're Black. And it took me a really long time to value those lessons. My mom and I are very close. We talk almost every day. I forgot to call you today, so my apologies. I napped instead. But I'm an only child, so we are really close. She's very small. She's like 4'9", and very obviously from her photo, a white lady. So I am biracial. I am half white, half Black. But if you met me, no one ever is like, "Oh my God, you look half white."
Yes.
So I identify as Black because that is how the world sees me.
Wow. And your mother is amazing. And I want to say, Donna, you've done a phenomenal job for her to have her own voice, and how she stands in her power and who she is. It's contagious. And I want all the women who are listening today, or whether you listen later, take notes. It's time for a change. And the only way that we create change is because we have to be the change that we want to see. And what Maddie has decided in her life is she's going to be the change. Be, do, have. Be, do, have. Be, do, and have, and you are absolutely living in that existence. So Maddie, I want, your mother said 4'11".
Sure. Whatever you say.
And I appreciate it too, because your mom telling you to understand in the world that we live in that racism is real, and to realize that you are Black, even though you're biracial. The world doesn't see that. I mean, I have pictures, I'm not even gonna go there. And that, my family is interracially mixed. My brother is half white. I have my nieces, if you saw them, you would be like, no, those aren't your nieces, but they really are my blood nieces. They're not, distant. I have every nationality you possibly want to think in. So my family is truly a melting pot. But the power in just owning who you are and not really having to justify, because why does that matter, right? Why does that matter? Why does that matter?
And I think, for me, one of the things is because I have blue hair and I have tattoos. Mind you, I live in a very conservative town in Texas outside of Austin. And one of the things, I know that people look at me and they assume that I must be like jobless. And I want to change the narrative. I don't want people to look at people who look like me or anyone else and think anything. I shouldn't be expected to be one kind of way because of how I look. And so that is really what I want to be able to change, is that anyone should be able to walk into any room and be valued without having to be like, oh, well, they don't look a certain way. They don't look like they went to college, whatever it is. I know that my mom tells the story, but a couple of years ago, someone asked my mom, like, oh, like, when is Maddie going to move out of the house? Mind you, I've lived in Texas for 4 years, but that was her assumption based on the fact that I have blue hair and tattoos, and she is from the church, and they don't do that in the church. I grew up in the church. Trust me. I was like the black sheep the whole time. And for me, that is so much of what exists in corporate America, is we have a myth and an idea of what best talent actually looks like. When best talent doesn't have a look, it doesn't have a pedigree, it doesn't have a certain degree. We should all be able to just be good at what we do, and it shouldn't matter how we look. None of that should matter, because it doesn't actually impact how good I am at my job.
Absolutely. Oh my God, girl, you are so incredible. And you are truly preaching. I want to ask those that are online, please do tag. Please ask a question. Ask Maddie a question. Let's make this very interactive. The more that you do that, the more rich it gets. I'm having a ball all by myself, so you don't have to ask her. I'm going to keep asking. And so, Maddie, you are now this trailblazer. You truly are. And you are truly setting a precedence. You're a part of the millennial. Are you millennial? Okay, so
I am a millennial.
Yes. One of the things I thought was really interesting when Maddie first got on, I was asking her about her. Did she go to school and where she went to school? Would you just share with them a little bit about your upbringing? Because I think that paints to me a true picture of a little bit about Maddie. It's a window into Maddie and who she is.
Yeah, so I mean, I had a incredibly privileged upbringing, and I am not shy about that because it shaped a lot of my views of the world. I went to private school from the time I was like 2.5 until the day I graduated college. For high school, I went to boarding school in very picturesque New England fashion. It is exactly what you think of when you think of a New England school. And then I went to a college that looked pretty similar. It was a small business school, under 1,100 kids. So I always was surrounded by whiteness and men. I graduated high school with like 42 people and only 8 of them were women.
Wow.
And I think four of us were Black though. So I mean, in the ratio department, we were doing okay. But again, there were only 8 women in the whole class. And so everything I saw around me that was like a vision of success was whiteness. And so for a long time, I thought that's what I had to mirror in order to exist successfully.
Right. Oh my God, but you've done a good job, and you've taken the world by the reins, and you're redefining who you are and who you're going to be. By the way, Maddie, who are you? Who do you want to be when you grow up?
I want to own a small bookstore in like a beach town. So that is the goal. That is my long-term goal.
You love to read.
I love to read. I love to write. I'm writing a book. I do have a literary agent. We are writing a book, so it is very exciting. If you can you can probably see behind me, I have books everywhere. I'm like that person who I love to go to the bookstore and then buy a bunch of books that I don't possibly have the time to read any of them. But I do. That is, if I could pick what I want to be when I grow up, I want to talk to people about how you scale equitable organizations and how you do it in a way that creates safety for everyone. And then I want to go home and read books.
Oh my God.
And pet my dogs. I have 5 dogs, so I want to pet them.
You have 5 dogs?
I do.
I love pets. I love pets. So Jennifer has a question for you, Maddie. She says, do you have a book about your journey? If so, please provide a book title and where it can be purchased. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Jennifer.
So the book is being written. The title is The Whole Time, and I will keep everyone updated on what happens next.
Okay, it's called The Whole Time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, I just want to say, let me see. Donna.
And I have a cat.
Oh, she's there.
I have a cat.
What? Oh my God. Books, and more books, right? Yes, Donna, yes. Your daughter is amazing. Absolutely. And she said, I look forward to your book talk and your release. Books, and more books. Awesome. No, this is awesome. And one of the things you guys have to understand, so in creating this platform, as I canvas and I'm looking for talent that I really want to include, a lot of it is a part of my network already. Maddie, I just happened to be on LinkedIn one day and she wrote an article. I can't even remember what the article was about. And I was like, I like her. And then I started reading the articles. I was like, oh my God, I love her. She is so vocal. Oh my God. Because people really do comment. You get a lot of comments. But when I read the content of what you were speaking, it so resonates with me in my journey, just about honesty. Today's article is something about it. I don't know, Maddie, you wrote it. What was today's quote with the white ghosts? What did you say today? Do you remember?
Basically, I was talking about, so people keep telling me, oh, you're participating in cancel culture. When you tag people's employers, you're canceling them. Cancel culture doesn't exist. Accountability culture exists. If you're being held accountable for the things you say.
For the people in the back, they didn't hear you. Say that again.
Cancel culture does not exist. Accountability culture exists. Being held accountable for your words, for your actions, is part of being an adult. And I know that white mediocrity has gotten us past the point of no one was held accountable for so long. And I'm not here for it, because accountability lives at the intersection of justice and peace. And if we want to talk about justice, we have to talk about accountability.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That had to hit home for somebody. I don't know where you're listening, but you have to be able to hear that. And people want to get on this whole thing about cancel culture. I love what you just said. It's about accountability. That is just, cancel culture does not exist. Accountability counts. I know my typing was real bad. I couldn't do that real quick. But you understand, go back and retype that. I'm gonna have to get somebody to start taking notes for me on this because this is just too amazing and we have to capture it all. And so in yours, you're about being accountable and holding others accountable. And I love that. And if more of us did that, I think we live in a better world. I think we live in a more just world. I think we live in a more happier world. I've never seen a world more divided than where we are right now. And the thing about it is, in this space, I just don't have time for it. All I have time for is telling beautiful stories about amazing people that are doing amazing things like you. People who are really out there making it happen. You making shit happen, girl. You're doing that. And thank you. Thank you. And I do have a potty mouth. I'm so sorry. I really am normally good, but that one just had to just slip that.
I filmed. We started filming season 2 of our podcast yesterday, and it's been a while since we filmed it. I got done and I was like, oh my god, I dropped the F-bomb like 27 times in this episode in 25 minutes. I'm sorry. So no, I'm from New England. I swear a lot. Yes. Ironically, when I got pulled over, so when I left that wild relationship, I got pulled over in Alabama of all states. And it was 8 a.m, and I was wearing a Bruins shirt that said "Drink beer and fight." And I was like, oh, what a good shirt to be wearing while I get pulled over by this policeman in Alabama. And yes, he came to my vehicle with his gun out. And the whole ordeal ended up costing like $5,000 because he wanted to send me to jail for doing 12 over on a Sunday morning. Even after I explained, hello, sir, I'm actually trying to escape an abusive relationship. And I'm just trying to put distance between me and violence. So if that's okay with you, I would like to continue on with my day. And he was not having it.
Wow. Wow. You guys, if you don't hear anything else out there, this is an opportunity for us to learn. This is an opportunity for us. I think we're so often wanting to judge. We're such a judgmental society, and we want to put people in boxes. And I just want to say to you that it's time to bust out of those boxes. It's time to live. It's time to be your most authentic, audacious self. Life is too short. And this world would have us live in a box. We've been living in a box for a very long time. I had a conversation last week with a young lady named Jen, and Janae, and she focuses on mental health. And she says, often when we're telling our story, we always come from the perspective of 400 years of slavery or 300 years of slavery. She said, no, we need to start telling the story from when it really started. And that's 300,000 years ago. And we came from kings and queens, and we were meant to thrive. And we, through our oppressors and coming in, taking over, we're stripped from a lot of things. One, our identity and who we are. And you, like you said, if you look at most of the commercials and TV and media, it was a time, especially when I was a little girl, I didn't see Black women on television, very few, 1 or 2, maybe 3 in leading roles. And even now, and we're now in 2021, and we are still seeing films where they're not giving roles that really are credible roles. You're either a prostitute or you're a maid or you're that is not
Yep.
who we are. And it's time for us. I know it's going to be hard for some people, but it's time to let go of that. And if you're not ready, get ready. Because what has happened is Pandora's box was opened. And people are coming through. And Maddie's, the future generations of the world, are definitely going to be taking a stance and not accepting abuse. And the abuse is not only coming from, like you just so well, Maddie, put it into perspective for me. And I never really put the two together. Being in a trauma is trauma. Trauma is trauma. But
Yep.
I separated being physically abused, mentally abused, from corporate. Like I separated that. And there was so much of that trauma for me. It's one of the reasons why I left corporate America, because I couldn't penetrate what most call a glass ceiling. For Black women, it's a brick ceiling. And to me,
Yep.
glass is penetratable. You can, if you're driving and a rock hits your windshield, it can break it. But you can't a pebble cannot break brick. And for us, it was this forever going through. And the only thing that I could think to do, Maddie, was transform myself, because I couldn't fix the world around me. I couldn't fix it. And I went on this transformation internal journey, somewhat like you, but still a little different. I'm still conditioned, but I transformed my body and became Miss Olympia. And that was my journey. What I see you is becoming a vocal voice for the world, for people to listen to. And this is, what did you just put up, Maddie?
So Minda Harts just wrote a book called Right Within, and it's literally all about how you deal with racial trauma in the workplace. She is a force. She is also like my comparable in my book proposal. But 10 out of 10 would recommend. My copy just came in and I'm very excited about it. But it's true. We all experience it as Black women. I think a lot of us tuck it away because we're taught to. We have traded trauma for paychecks for how long? Because that's what you had to do. Because I understand that being able to show up the way I do is incredibly privileged, because not everyone can do that and then still at the end of the day go home with a paycheck. We all have to be able to pay our bills and buy food for our families. And so instead of being able to heal our trauma, we've had to partake in more of it. And so for me, I think that's been something that I've spent a long time unpacking, is the trauma that I laughed off or was like, he just doesn't like me. Being able to actually unpack that is hard work, because it also means you have to heal, and healing unfortunately sucks and it's hard. And I think Minda does a great job, really highlighting that in her book.
And her name is Minda?
Minda, M-I-N-D-A.
Minda
Harts, H-A-R-T-S.
H-A-R-T-S. I'm going to get that book today. I think we can all in use can need some resources and tools in terms of trying to be our best selves. And one of the things, Maddie, you've done for me, and I know for my audience, and for every Black woman that's out there, and especially for our future generation in particular, and our older generations, such as myself, I'm just saying, your voice, your power, just know, I want to say to you, I didn't have a me when I was your age. I didn't have a me that I could look to. And I want to say to you, continue to do the amazing work that you're doing. Continue to shine. Continue to make your voice heard, and don't allow anybody to stop you. Continue to grow. Continue to unpack things as you're going along, and let those revelations be known. I think it was Donna, or maybe your mom or Jennifer, who said, more books, more books, more books, more books, more books. You truly are an amazing storyteller. And it's unfortunately that you had to come through it, through some unfortunate things, but it has made you this amazing bright light. And I am so honored. I'm so honored to have you on this platform. Cheryl, please post this book title. I would like to attain it as well. Yes, I sure will. So it's called, what is it called again?
Here, I'm going to put it in the comments.
Perfect. I want to say to everybody, just type a 1 if this has been helpful for you. Type a 1. I want you to write a 1 in the comments if this has been helpful for you, because I've learned so much, and I hope that this has equally empowered you. We have one of the things I love about what I do is I get a chance to learn. I really get a chance to learn. But also the time goes by so quickly, but we still have some left. We have some time, but I'm going to honor you because you are in Austin. There, she put it in. So now you have the information. So I just want to know, Maddie, how can we support you? How can we uplift you? What can we do for you?
Oh gosh, nothing. All I really want people is to be able to be themselves and love themselves at face value. And so if you can do that, then I feel like I've made a difference. And if you can, even, when I think about the conversations I have with parents, I am not one, but having the conversation that helps normalize just being yourself. The next generation and the generations after that really do matter. And if we start the work today versus having to learn it at 21, 22, 23, they enter the workforce knowing exactly what they should expect, because they were told that they didn't have to change themselves in order to be worthy of money.
Oh my God. This is, she said, this is, Verna Brooks says, this is right on time, ladies. I just got off the phone listening to my awesome sister-in-law crying and panicking after she walked off her job for stress. Clearly, she is being targeted at her company unjustly. My dissertation is on this topic. Thank you, Verna. Thank you. And that's the kind of comment that I right now feel compelled to anybody in corporate that's listening. This is a message. This isn't about defiance. This isn't about anything other than what has been so gracefully said by Maddie is being human at work. And there's so much pressure on, number one, most companies don't have enough diversity within the corporation. And for those that are there, they're still suffering from the trauma that happened to George Floyd and still having to compound that with dealing with managers and microaggressions and having to compound that and be the mother and wife and having to compound that dealing with the pandemic and like it's too much. And out of fairness, I beg of you, take notes. Don't take it personal. Take notes because this is an anecdotal way that you can truly create the future company that is representative of the people of this country and land. We're not going anywhere. And I don't ever want to be anybody other than the beautiful Black woman that God has created me to be. And I mean that internally. It's nothing to do with, I'm not talking about physical looks here right now, people. I'm really talking about spirit. And let me see, there's another comment that Donna says, one, she's always teaching me and challenging me to be my best self. Donna, can we be best friends, you and I, so that I can share? Can we just, just work this out? Donna's like, look, I'm working on her. Just let me have my daughter, please. No, but this is so amazing. Jennifer says, Maddie, your story resonates deeply. And it really does, Maddie. Your courageousness to just be able to share that. And I'm looking at you and I just feel such great energy. And by the way, guys, I want to share this with you. I started off saying it, but my mind, because my mind's moving. I don't have things written down. I don't operate that way. I like things to organically flow so we can be in the moment. Because if I have to write it down, then I have to look at it. And so one of the things I want to say, when I looked at Maddie's story, I asked her to be on the platform. And this was a while back. I sent her a message and I just want to thank you for trusting me, Maddie. Thank you for trusting me. And I asked her, so how did you decide to say yes? Tell them how you decided to say yes.
Because I do everything now through an agent, I book most speaking engagements through them, but there was just something about the messaging and the way you reached out that felt very authentic and very real. And so I wanted to have a conversation with you because although I don't often do things like this anymore, I wanted to do it. And so I did. So that's kind of how I operate. If I want to do it, I'm going to do it.
Right. Well, Maddie, and you did, and you were so gracious with your time. You've been so gracious with your energy. I have a question to ask you. I really don't want it to end, but I got to be true to you and the time that I committed to. And I just want to say to anybody else out there, I'm just like, oh my God, oh my God. Until we shout critical race theory, diversity, we will always be a noun. Belonging and equity matter. What say you? What you say about that, huh? Maddie, any comments?
100%. I mean, I think diversity is a noun. The other stuff is what matters. All of the stuff that comes after it. If you just plug a bunch of Black folks or queer folks into your organization and you do not know how to nourish them, how to keep them safe, what you have done is expose them to more trauma and more harm, and you have now become part of the problem. And so for me, when I teach this work, inclusion and equity have to come first. You have to build for who isn't there first. Otherwise, you're just like, okay, Black person, now what do I do? Be a stock photo, be on the career website. And like, that's not what diversity is about. It is not about how many Black people you can have. It is about how you can keep them safe, how you can nourish them, how you can uplift them, and how you can grow their careers. It's not about how they look on LinkedIn or on your career website or how they look to your partners and your VCs and your board. It is actually about how you grow them and how you treat them and how you pay them. Does it look like that white man, or did you pay her differently because she's a Black woman?
Woo! Woo! She's speaking my language, Maddie. That is exactly what I do. I help them to connect the dots. I do that work too with this work because they get to hear authentic stories. For those who didn't know, now they do. You get another extension to people to get to know who you are through my platform. This is just like, so everybody's like 100. This is the new conversation. I'm just trying to say, you heard it first here. I'm just actually there also. You'll really hear it there. And all the details and the tips that she leaves are very detailed. They're never just like random thoughts that they may be random thoughts, but how I receive it when you write them are anecdotal ways. Like don't assume certain things. And if you're not, like the biggest thing that you just said right there is you have to help people to integrate into your organization. Black people they need help right now. They need help. They need help, and you need to take responsibility and help them create that safe place that Maddie was talking about. Maddie, I have one question for you before I let you go. Level 2 dialogue for diversity and inclusion. We're going to continue this, but I promised you I was going to let you go, so I'm going to do this really quickly. First of all, I want to thank my entire team, because I can't do this alone. And I do have a team. I have a group of young women that I mentor, and I call them Fit for the Future. I want to thank them. I want to thank my beautiful, amazing daughter, Damo Nichelle B, that does my makeup. She's amazing. I want to thank my entire team, Dejan, John Tay. Those are my sons. They work with me. They do all my branding because I couldn't do it without you. So I want you to know your mother loves you. She adores you. She appreciates you, all that you do. And when I call you late at night and you respond to me and you don't ignore me, I love you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And then Maddie, for you, I want to ask you one last question. We're right up, but I want to ask you one last question. If you can give one piece of advice, what would that be?
The journey doesn't stop. You don't have to end up where I end up. And even if you do want to end up where I end up, where I am, it doesn't happen overnight. Take care of yourself, protect your peace, and more importantly, own your space. You deserve to take up space in the world. And even if it's just 1 inch at a time, I encourage you to take your space.
Oh my God. Maddie, you are adorable. I hope to meet you one day really soon. I'm going to keep in touch with you. I have your contact information.
Yeah.
My daughter says, thank you. I love her. If you need a makeup artist, she is amazing. I don't know if you wear makeup or not, but she's great. She's great. So I want to say to you, God bless you. Take care. And just know that you have fans on this side that are supporting you and rooting for you every step of the way. So continue the great work, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies. God bless. Have a great day. Okay, Maddie, don't you hang up. Don't you hang up.
Okay, I won't.